Hey guys, what's going on? James here, and in this video today, I wanted to take a look at post-draft free agency. That's a real thing. Teams make flurries of moves after the NFL draft if they couldn't necessarily get a lot of players that they wanted, and the Buccaneers may also be another team that'll participate in that. So I wanted to take a look at what players are available, see if the Bucs could be interested in any of these options. Let's just go through position by position. Firstly, a quarterback. The Bucs aren't going to sign a quarterback, and there's not exactly a lot of options out there. I think that the Bucs are very solid at their quarterback room right now with Baker Mayfield, with also a guy like Kyle Trask as your backup, and John Wolford even possibly battling for that backup spot as well. You did bring in Anixted out of Illinois State, I believe, as an undrafted free agent quarterback as well. So the Bucs are pretty full on quarterback. I don't think they're going to go in any direction like that going forward. So that's an easy one. Running back's interesting. Now, Ezekiel Elliott, I believe, is going to be signing with the Dallas Cowboys, so shout out to him for that. Is Cam Akers an option? Maybe. You did bring in Bucky Irving out of Oregon. He is a guy that is going to be battling with Chase Edmonds for that backup role at the running back position. But Cam Akers does have experience with Liam Cohen. He's only 24 years old, will be 25 this upcoming season. You can probably get him for pretty cheap. He might be a guy that can be brought in as a young option. Heck, I think he could even still participate in like rookie mini camp and things and just all the voluntary mini camps and whatnot. So like maybe they do give Cam Akers a call and say, hey man, want to come in and try out for us? I'd be down for that. Why not? Cam Akers had put up some good stats in the past and can be a guy who can certainly be an option, in my opinion. So also former Florida State guy. People love that, right? But I mean, it wasn't too long ago that he had 787 rushing yards, 786, sorry, and 7 rushing touchdowns for the Rams in 2022. So that's going to be something to consider. Former Super Bowl champion as well. So we'll maybe that's one guy they consider. Besides that, really not a lot of people on this list that would be considered. Maybe you look at a guy like Marlon Mack out of Arizona, former USF kind of guy. There are still some good running backs on this list, but again, you draft Bucky Irving, you bring in some other undrafted free agents in that mix as well. You do have Chase Edmonds, you do have Rashad White. Really, the only guy I could see would be Cam Akers. I want to take a look at wide receiver real quick. There's still a lot of options out there. Hunter Renfrow, Allen Robinson, Odell Beckham Jr., Michael Gallup. Wouldn't surprise me if the Bucs did bring in one guy. Who would that be? I don't know. I mean, there are plenty of options. Maybe it's a guy like Scotty Miller. I think he was working out with Baker Mayfield this offseason. You can never have enough guys at wide receiver. I always am down for teams to bring in more wide receivers, and there's a lot of fun names on here, right? Like even a guy like Keith Kirkwood from New Orleans. He's a veteran. But a lot of different names. Just take your pick, right? Like Scotty Miller. Some of these guys are probably going to be a bit too expensive, but like Hunter Renfrow, and a lot of these guys just don't make sense, right? Like Renfrow, Robinson, Beckham, Gallup, Boyd, of course. I mean, these guys are the guys that you can see like maybe signing some decent money deals to teams after this draft. Do the Bucs think about bringing back Russell Gage? I don't know. On a cheap deal? Maybe. That'd be an interesting signing. Bring him back if he's fully healthy. You did bring in Jalen McMillan, though, in the draft with a 3rd-round pick. So whatever guy you're bringing in, he's going to be competing for like the 4th wide receiver spot, maybe even the 5th wide receiver spot with a guy like, Raheem Jarrett or even possibly Trey Palmer in there. But Trey Palmer's going to be busy battling with McMillan for that 3rd wide receiver spot. But like, I don't think it'd be crazy if they brought in a vet wide receiver, or at least even have a guy in on a tryout deal. Tight end is another position where the Bucs, I think, could use a veteran. Now, I do think they like Cade Otton. They did bring in Culp out of Washington as well, so that's certainly notable. But there are still a couple of veterans out here that say, like, hey, why not? Maybe that means bringing back a guy like David Wells was with the Bucs at last year. He's going to be 29 years old. But really, this is also kind of another group that's overall devoid of a lot of names. Like maybe Robert Tonyan, but, again, you did draft a tight end, and that is notable. O-line, I don't think the Bucs are investing in this. you drafted 2 interior O linemen. You brought in Graham Barton. You brought in Klein out of UTEP. You brought in Sua Opeta. You bought in Ben Bredesen. You brought in Robert Hainsey, who's going to be, well, I mean, Robert Hainsey wasn't brought in, but he's still going to be competing for center and guard. You don't really need backup tackles because you brought back Justin School, I believe, as well. So, I mean, the only name would be like a Brian Allen, but that's just purely because he has a connection to Liam Cohen, the Bucs' current offensive coordinator. Aside from that, man, I think the Bucs are pretty happy with their offensive line. By the way, Donovan Smith is still a free agent. Kind of wild. Matt Filer is still a free agent in that mix also. But yeah, that's kind of it for the offensive line. Defensive line, let's take a look at the defensive line just in general first, right? Taking a look at defensive tackle, let's say. Now, Fletcher Cox, no, isn't he retired? He might be retired. Raheem Nunez-Roches could come back, possibly as like a veteran addition. Was with the Buccaneers. I know that they like him a lot. He's going to be 31 years old this upcoming season. He might be an option to be brought back, but after that, there aren't really a ton of names that you maybe look at as options that could be brought back. You brought back Greg Gaines as well, so really, Raheem Nunez-Roches is the only guy that I would see in terms of interior defensive line. Take a look at edge guys. I mean, you added Chris Braswell in the second round. And it's a loaded group right now. It is. Like, loaded in terms of just, like, they have a lot of bodies. You have Chris Braswell, Yaya Diaby, Joe Tryon-Shoyinka, Anthony Nelson, Randy Gregory in there as well. So, again, that's Gregory, Nelson, JTS is in there, Yaya Diaby, and Braswell. That's 5 guys who are going to be making that roster, very likely. So, do you really have room for a 6th? I would say the answer is probably not. Carl Lawson's still available. Emmanuel Ogba is still available. Yannick Ngakoue. But, like, again, the Bucs don't really have any room. The only thing I could see is if they brought somebody in on some type of tryout deal. But I just don't see that right now. Like, maybe like a Bradley Anae, formerly with the Jets, just because he's young enough. But, again, you drafted Braswell for a reason. And that's a pretty, log-jammed position, let's say. A lot of bodies in there who are going to be battling for starting reps. Take a look at inside linebacker. Well, I guess we can look at outside linebacker in here as well. So to go over this real quick, like Tyus Bowser is another guy, probably going to be too much money. Bud Dupree, very similar thing. What is Bud Dupree's market value? That'd be interesting. $5.7 million. Yeah, folks, it's just, again, not a lot of guys here. Like Marcus Golden, maybe because he has a history with Todd Bowles due to all their time together in Arizona. But again, inside linebacker is interesting. You have Anthony Barr there who could play inside linebacker. That would be somebody who maybe they would consider. The Bucs didn't draft an inside linebacker, by the way, in this draft. Now, they have KJ Britt. They have SirVocea Dennis. And you did bring a couple of undrafted free agent guys in there as well. But there are a couple of interesting options, like Shaq Leonard. I could see him going to a contender, though, and he'll probably cost too much money. Quan, you bring back Quan Alexander at the age of 30, almost 30 years old. Maybe Zach Cunningham, formerly of the Eagles. This would be one position where you could bring in a vet, right? And a reunion with Quan would be so fun. Zach Cunningham would be fun as well. Just, man, maybe bring Quan Alexander home. That'd be kind of fun. But I could see them adding a vet at inside linebacker. Cornerback, you brought in Bryce Hall. You drafted Tyke Smith, who's going to be competing for that nickel spot. You brought in Tavier Thomas, who's going to be competing for that nickel spot. You did trade away Carlton Davis, but you have Zion McCollum there at outside corner. They like him a lot. I don't necessarily see them bringing in anybody to compete at outside corner, like maybe like a Trey Flowers, formerly of Atlanta, maybe a Fabian Monroe, but like that's for obviously low money value. And a Kilo Witherspoon, he's going to be 29 years old. D. Delaney's still out there. You could bring back D. Delaney. In fact, I think the Bucs should bring back D. Delaney. could be an option in there as well. And in fact, I would almost bank the Bucs are going to bring back D. Delaney to compete at outside corner. So that would probably be the move for an outside corner, but I think the Bucs are satisfied with where they're at there. Very similar thing with safety. There's still some big names out there, right? Jamal Adams, Justin Simmons, Eddie Jackson, Quandre Diggs, Micah Hyde, Marcus May, but you brought back Jordan Whitehead. You brought back Antoine Winfield Jr. You drafted Tyke Smith. You have Josh Hayes there. You have Kayvon Merriweather there. There's a lot of guys, man. There's just a lot of names there. I just don't see the Bucs going for anybody. Maybe a reunion with Keanu Neal would be kind of fun. Maybe you bring back Ryan Neal for some veteran depth, but that's kind of it, man. That's kind of it. I don't see the Bucs really going in any other direction with that. Finally, in terms of special teams, the only kicker available apparently is Randy Bullock. That's kind of wild. The only punter available is Presley Harvin III. I don't see the Bucs investing in kicker or punter. You brought back Chase McLaughlin on a big money deal. You have Jake Camarda there. Those are kind of your guys. And long snapper, no. So, yeah, guys, that's kind of it for some of the names the Bucs may consider. What do you guys think? I don't see the Bucs making a ton of moves, but there are some things that I think would be kind of fun in terms of like bringing back D. Delaney, maybe a reunion with Keanu Neal, or bringing back Ryan Neal, maybe a reunion with Quan Alexander, and just some other veteran guys that I named out there. But what do you guys think? Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments section below. I'd love to hear it. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Hope you all enjoyed. As always, I'll see you all in the next video or the next live stream. But until then, and as always, guys, goodbye for now, and go Bucs.